Welcome everyone to another Blue Jackets game reaction. Game 27 somehow feels like the worst one so far, and there have been plenty of bad ones in this Blue Jacket season. Columbus losing 4-3 in overtime to the Los Angeles Kings at home in a way that the 4-3 overtime score doesn't necessarily reveal how devastating it was, where the Jackets went up 3-0 in the first two periods of the game and then saw that 3-0 lead very quickly go away, and then to see that 3-goal lead officially get blown in overtime, pretty early in overtime as well. Welcome back, Vladislav Gavrikov. I see you're doing well with the Kings. Good for you. Hello, Pierre-Luc Dubois. I see you're doing well with the Kings. Good for you. The Kings were in their chrome helmets, which was definitely an interesting choice. Man, we'll just get right into the elephant in the room. I have brought Crying Jordan back into the thumbnails for the Blue Jackets videos so far. Maybe if they come back on Thursday with a win, Crying Jordan will leave. But I put Crying Jordan back on the thumbnails. I put them on originally during the 9-game losing streak. Took them off after they won. This loss definitely deserves the Crying Jordan thumbnail for the Jackets, with another epic collapse in the third period. Not even 7 minutes into the third period is how quickly they blew that 3-0 lead. And this was a lot different than the third period against Boston, where with Boston, it just felt like it was, Brad Marchand getting on a heater on power play goals, and things just kind of weren't working right. And they were only up 1-0 after 2 anyways in that one, and it's Boston. So you think, okay, one game, scrap that, even though it's been a whole season of getting a lead and blowing it. But at least against Boston, I don't know, it just kind of felt like things weren't going your way. This was a much more deliberate stroke of genius as far as just how devastating this was. I'd love to say that this was ridiculous and how unexpected it was, but honestly, they've been doing it all year. The only thing ridiculous is just how often this has been happening. It's kind of like saying that the Jackets blowing this lead was ridiculous. It was kind of like saying that it's ridiculous that it was cold today. It's December. That's going to happen every single day. As soon as that first goal for the Kings went in early in the third period, you knew, if you've been watching this Jackets team all season, you knew that this was going to get ugly. And the thing is, I don't think it necessarily had to be. A long shot from the point getting deflected and going past Elvis to make it a 3-1 game early in the third should not send an entire hockey team, coaching staff, and its fan base rightfully into some sort of frenzy. It should not come to that. We shouldn't be blaring the alarms after the team concedes one goal early in the third when it's still up by 2. And it turns out everyone who was worrying is correct to be worrying. And they're right to be worrying, because this team does not know how to push back in these types of situations until after it is too late. Yes, the Jackets' play did improve in the second half of that third period, but by that point, the game was already tied. The damage had already been done. Besides that, Mrs. Lincoln, how did you enjoy the play? What? Come on. And this has to be a coaching thing. Yes, I know the players should probably automatically know that something is wrong with what they're doing and adjust and make on the fly changes, but there are people behind the bench. There's people behind the bench. They have mouths. They can speak to the players and tell them to do something else, do anything else. I understand having a trust in the system that you've created for these guys, but that system, this entire season, this is not early in the season anymore. This is like the season is a third of the way done, and it has consistently not worked more often than not. Just allowing the puck to occupy your zone for minutes on end. You look like you're on the penalty kill at 5-on-5 for minutes at a time. So of course, pucks are going to end up in the back of your net that way. I don't think Elvis was particularly great in the third period. However, this team is not giving him any sort of help. And even when he has been good, this team has still found ways to turn great performances into bad results. I know that trying to make an aggressive move in the defensive zone can lead to someone walking around you and putting the team in a really bad at a bad place. But at some point, it is worth the risk when the alternative is just allowing the puck to, once again, just sit and stagnate in your zone, where pretty much you're just clearing it, not to really anyone in particular, just flinging it out of the zone, and they get the puck right back, and it's right back in your zone. At some point, those are going to go in, especially against a team like the Kings, who are having a really good year. They've just tied the record for opening road winning streak. They have won 10 straight games to start the season on the road. The Jackets have not won 10 games this season, and something that I want to say is that, the Jackets, when they when they play the way they play the third period, it's like they're playing against a team that's in a whole league above them. But then when you see what the Jackets do, it's kind of hard to argue against that. Again, prevent defense prevents wins. I know that's more of a football analogy, but I do feel like that is definitely a saying that applies here. Another issue prevent with this coaching staff right now is not icing your best players, where I feel like both Adam Fantilli and Kent Johnson both seemed like they were playing fine in this game. I don't think they were noticeably bad, especially when you have these young guys who are young prospects in your system who you think can ideally would be able to, contribute to success long term into the future. And for some reason, they saw it fit to give Adam Fantilli 10 minutes and 10 seconds of ice time. That is your future top-line center. Honestly, probably could be the top-line center by the time this season ends, and he can't see the ice any more than that in a game where he's playing fine. And the player who had less ice time was Kent Johnson, who had 8 minutes and 6 seconds of ice time. What? Wasn't he put on the top line? I think he was on the top line with Jenner and Danforth. How does he only see 8 minutes and 6 seconds of ice time? I don't understand it. It's not like they're preventing wins. They got less ice time and the team still lost by a bunch. Well, not by a bunch, but it felt like they lost by a bunch based on how that third period went, is how I should say. But hey, it was a great first two periods. If the NHL ended their games after the first two periods, the Jackets would be probably in the hunt for a playoff spot, if not in a playoff spot. And I don't necessarily think that's a compliment, by the way. I think that just means that the Jackets can't play in any sort of situation that requires them to play under pressure. Marchenko's power play goal, that was nice to see. Johnny Gaudreau finally scoring on a breakaway. That's awesome. Even Matthew Olivier got in on the score, and he got his first goal of the season. It always seems like it's a good night when Matthew Olivier scores a goal. But now none of that matters. None of it. I don't care about the standings point in overtime. You cannot lose that game. And the players' body language after that first Kings goal showed a team that knew that it was in for about 20 minutes of hell plus an overtime. And that overtime period, by the way, just a complete joke where Boone Jenner loses the face-off. He goes off for Chinikov. I think Chinikov, Marchenko, and Werenski is an odd pair. I don't necessarily think that's anything bad because Chinikov and Marchenko can definitely both score goals. Werenski there as well. Just a bit of an odd pairing there. But it doesn't matter anyway, as Doughty had a slap shot that beat Elvis less than 30 seconds in. Jackets never even got the puck. So, just a fitting end to what was a fairly good game, and then just a terrible, terrible ending that completely tore down any sort of foundation they'd built up in the first 40 minutes of that game. And that's kind of how this season has kind of gone, where the Jackets will they'll look solid for the early stages of the game, maybe even past the early stages. They'll score first usually, or usually at least get a lead. But when push comes to shove, when the chips are down on the table, they're just not able to get it done. And whether it's a roster configuration or a coaching thing, whatever it is, I don't see how it gets fixed immediately this season. I honestly think any sort of change is going to be for the long-term future. Because like I've said, even if you can Pascal Vincent, I don't trust this front office to find a head coach that's going to maximize this roster's talents in the snap of fingers. I just don't trust them to do that. They play the Islanders on Thursday, and the Islanders just had their own embarrassing loss against the Sharks, where the Islanders were up 4-1 and lost there. So they'll be playing on Thursday in a battle between which team can recover from crapping their pants better. So I guess we'll have that to look forward to on Thursday. That's going to do it from me in this one. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far into it, feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video and you'd like to see more like it. Once again, thank you for watching. That's all I have to say. I'll see you at the next one.